Hey there, everyone. I'm Game Day Disaster, and welcome in. This is going to be a little bit different. Starfield Direct just happened today, which was just under an hour long. So we got a lot of information and a lot of new footage from the game that I want to talk about. Overall, the way this is going to be structured is I'm going to talk about my expectations, my hopes, and some of my concerns for the game. Firstly, this game is gorgeous. I'm sure everything they were showing on the highest settings, on the best hardware they had. But from the planets to the overall atmosphere to even the creatures that they showed off in this were absolutely fascinating. I think at one point they made a statement where they didn't want just alien creatures. They're aiming for each creature to feel like it is native to whatever planet and environment that is in. And from what we saw today, I thought they did a really good job there. I personally have played a few of the Elder Scrolls games, a few of the Fallout games, and at least with this, I'm expecting Bethesda is going to put out another great story for us to engage with for a few hours, and plenty of side content and side stories to figure out, find, and unravel. So I'm certainly looking forward to that, and that is definitely an expectation I have of this studio. They showed off a little bit of the skill system, not so much a tree, I guess. And I think it looks like a pretty decent system. We've got about 5 different areas, and then each one has their own respective skills in them, and each skill has its own tier. So it is somewhat like a nice balance between what we got in Skyrim and then what we had in Fallout 4, I think, with the special system. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that feels in terms of progression and building my character. And then, of course, it is a very, very large and ambitious game, so I am expecting to run into some bugs. There's bugs in Fallout, there's bugs in Skyrim and Oblivion, and it's almost like a little calling card. Now, it's going to depend on the severity of the bugs. If I'm having to deal with game crashes, obviously that's going to be a bummer and pull up from the experience. But there have been so many bugs in Skyrim, I'm going to bring that one up more because that's the one I'm more familiar with, that are almost endearing. Now, moving on to my hopes for the game. These are things that, if they're not met, I'll still enjoy the game, but I'm certainly hoping that they're there, and if they are, it'll definitely improve the experience for me. One of the things they talked about in this were character background and how that may change your experience and interaction with certain encounters and people throughout the game. I'm really hoping these are going to be a little bit more than a one-off kind of thing. Like, oh, there's a little experience over here for this background that you had. I am hoping that there's going to be a little bit more of a consistent interaction between the world and your background. That said, there are a lot of different backgrounds that you can choose from. And my understanding, you only get to choose one background. So we'll see where that goes. I'm really excited for the ship customization. They showed off a couple of crazy designs in there, so I can't wait to get my hands on that and see what absolute chaos I can create and fly around with. And not to mention, on top of all of the customizing your ship, you have the colors you can customize on there, and so many different parts it looked like. So I can't wait to see what that entire catalog looks like. I believe I'm going to have a lot of fun there. Another mechanic that they showed off in the game is constructing your own outposts. Very similar with the ship construction, ship customization. I can't wait to get my hands on that and see how much we can do. They showed off small outposts. I'm curious how large those can get. We can do research and crafting there, and then you can harvest resources as well. So I am very curious as to the extent of all of that and how in-depth you can go. as well as how many outposts you can eventually get, what and if there is a cap to that. And for a couple of my concerns about this game, honestly, I recognize it's a huge, huge game. I'm really hoping that anything game-breaking is going to be fixed before launch. It is a single-player experience, so ideally we're not going to have to worry about server overload on launch. I would love to boot up the game and jump in, and hopefully we have no floating heads or missing faces, as we see occasionally in some games. But I'm looking forward to the smaller bugs, the ones that are more charm, but generally as much of a bug-free run as we can get. Another one of my concerns is how this is going to run on different hardware. This is clearly a very beautiful game, so I wonder, especially when it comes to console, I know these next-gen consoles are pretty powerful, but we did have Cyberpunk. There was a bit of an issue there with performance now on consoles. But overall, I think it should be decently fine. Now, I don't know how much of a beefed up computer you're going to have in order to run this, but we'll see. And overall, just wrapping up, the gameplay that they showed off, again, looked absolutely beautiful. The exploration, the walking around seemed delightful. I'm certainly looking to jump into that. The combat looked like it was pretty solid. Being able to use your jetpack, or your boost pack, I believe is what they called it. I can't wait to fly around like some Mandalorian in a gunfight. I think that'll be pretty fun. Not to mention varieties in gravity depending on the planetary surface you're on, as well as fights in zero gravity. Again, there's a lot of different mechanics going on here, and something tells me in the zero gravity fights, if you're using ballistic weapons, those will propel you backwards. Something tells me we're going to find a bug there in that propulsion with some certain weapon or some certain angle or up against a surface. I feel like there's going to be something there. I don't know. That's just me saying that. I don't know. Total speculation. Who knows? But there's a lot of things going on. Really excited for that. The ship-to-ship combat seemed pretty decent. They showed off your power systems, which was reminiscent of Elite Dangerous. Now this was a little bit more. Instead of just weapon systems, you had your, I think it was lasers, your ballistic weapons, and your missiles all had their own power scale that you had to balance between. And you have your shields, your engines, and your gravity drive. So instead of 3, I believe, in Elite Dangerous, we have 6 different areas to manage power in. So that'll be pretty interesting. I'm curious how intuitive that might feel and how easily it would flow into a high stress situation, or if rather you end up just kind of fumbling around with it while you're trying not to get shot at and trying not to blow up. So we'll see how that turns out. Not to mention, there was a docking, so you could disable the enemy ship and dock and claim the ship as your own. So that would be quite interesting. I'm curious how much of a benefit that is. Eventually, you commandeer that ship and it becomes a part of your own fleet. If it would be better to salvage it, sell it, who knows? I'm curious to see how that comes out. Overall, I am really excited for this game. I've been trying to keep my hype levels down. I have a terrible habit of getting way overhyped for games. Then they come out and, they end up just being games. Nothing horribly wrong with them, but my excitement for it was a little too high, and my imagination ran a little too wild. But I am excited for Starfield. I've been trying to keep off of it for a while, and this came out, and I'm excited. A couple more months. September 6th is when it's releasing. If you pre-order, I think they're Ultimate or Collector's Edition, you get 5 days early access. Or you can wait till it's out. It's coming out on Game Pass. Maybe you don't even have to spend any money on it. So, we will see. Thank you all for watching. I'm excited, and I will see you all later. Peace out.